Welcome to On Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, your host, joined by the executive director of the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy. Jim, Longhorns are familiar to you now. Not only last year, but this year, we were just talking beforehand. Longhorns are now starting to put out players again.
They are.
at a more voluminous level. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky. I did a swing through Texas last year in August, and the day I rolled through Austin, they're doing a night scrimmage in the stadium for, I think, a bunch of NIL donors. And, man, it was such a fun practice to watch because, you saw Quinn Ewers throw. A.D. Mitchell scored a bunch of touchdowns that night. Worthy made plays. Jordan Whittington made plays. They definitely – Sark, spent some time in Texas when Sark just got there, and to see what he's built now roster-wise, and the depth of the roster in just really a short period of time. I feel like my last visit out there was about 3 years ago. Really got that thing turned.
Yeah. You mentioned all those guys. They're gone.
Yeah.
Now it's like a rebuild, but hopefully Texas is reloading. So it's a little bit different, right? That's been part of the problem with Texas and their lack of consistency at a high level over the last 10 to 15 years, and why when Texas says, "Oh, we're back," and then the trap door happens, right? What do you make of some of the guys that are coming out this year for Texas, and some highlights for you in your opinion?
There's guys like we invited Jim Nagy last year, so we obviously like him if we invited him. Alfred Collins is a guy we really like. We can bring juniors now to the Senior Bowl. Last year was the first year we could bring all the juniors. We'd always been able to bring guys that graduate. So a guy like Banks is obviously a really interesting player. So, and with a quarterback, I saw Quinn throwing it around at the Manning camp a couple weeks ago. Saw him throw for the first time when he was in high school, getting ready to go to Ohio State. But yeah, you talk about reloading. It's a lot easier to do when you can get kids in the transfer portal, and getting a guy like Isaiah Bond was a big time get. You have to help me out with the tight. What's the tight end?
Amari Nyblack.
That's the other one. He's really talented now. Like, I've seen him in enough practices in Tuscaloosa to know he's an NFL guy. So, they've done a great job from top to bottom. I mean, they're recruiting better. They're in the portal. They're developing guys. It's a great coaching staff. Sark's got that program in a good spot.
Let me ask you this. A lot of fans, and some of the focus of this media days for Texas fans, is the move to the SEC. Here's a really fair question, in my opinion. You're a personnel guy at some level. What's the personnel difference? What is Texas going from to? Like, what's the fundamental difference between the Big 12 and the SEC?
I'd say a bigger, more physical league, especially on defense. This is going to be a little bit of a dated thing, but my last job in the league was with the Seahawks. And there was a year, I'm guessing we're probably going back about 7 or 8 years ago now, but there was a year where the SEC had, the Big 12 conference had 6 defensive players at the combine that year. 6 defensive players. Alabama, LSU, and Florida that year had 7. So just the overall talent on the defensive side of the ball is just that much better. So, but I think Texas is well positioned to make the move. I'm sure Texas fans wish they had T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy back for the year they move over. Those guys certainly would help, but no, that to me that's the biggest difference in the trenches. Just bigger, more physical people.
Let me ask you this: Texas is in this situation where they're moving over. It feels like Texas is moving at the right time. Oklahoma, however, is breaking in a new quarterback, and Texas OU, big rivalry. What do you think of the Sooners heading to the SEC?
For a young quarterback, it's just going to be the visiting, the opposing places he's going into. There's some really hard road places to play. Auburn's a really hard place to play. Tuscaloosa, Georgia, in the swamp. LSU, if they play him at night, it's a ridiculously hard place to play. So I would say that's going to be the hardest transition. It's just, and the young quarterback's a talented guy, but those are going to be some big road tests.
You mentioned quarterback, and I would be remiss if I did not ask you about Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
Right now, he and Kelvin Banks are the 2 guys most talked about for Texas being possible first rounders. What do you think of Quinn Ewers?
I like with all these players, I try to watch enough junior tape to have a good feel for them, but I don't want to watch them too much where I get really locked in on what I think about them. But I will say this, like watching him at the Manning camp, like it's a little unorthodox, the motion, you all know that.
Yep.
You guys watch him, but the ball comes out so clean. So he can really throw it. I think he's more mobile than he probably gets credit for. Want to see him stay healthy the whole year. That'll be a big thing. But man, the game, you could see last year over the course of the year, the game was really slowing down for him. I don't know if Sark's talked about that. I saw that. I saw him just the game. You just see it almost on a weekly basis. So just see him to continue to make that next step when he has to carry this football team. He needs to be. He means, if you're going to be a first-round quarterback, when you're in games where you got to put the team on your shoulders to win a game, that's what the NFL is going to be doing.
This is interesting. Texas and Steve Sarkisian. Sark does a pretty good job with quarterbacks.
He does, always has.
Yeah. Next in line, Arch Manning. You got a chance to see him. We've seen him. He had a terrific spring game in Austin. Not sure if you caught that, but going down to the Manning camp, what did you think there?
Well, I've seen our Arch trains with a guy in Mobile, Alabama, named David Morris.
Yep,
He's,
QB country.
Yeah,
yep.
QB country guy. He was he's one of Eli's best friends. He's done a phenomenal job. This year he worked with pre-draft. He worked with Bo Nix and Drake May. So Arch has come to Mobile, and I've watched him over there throw a couple of times. So and go back to last August when I went to that thing inside that little scrimmage they had, controlled scrimmage inside the stadium. Arch made some throws that night too. All three of the quarterbacks made throws that night. So they're in a good spot. It's cool that they've got a succession plan. Arch isn't pushing the panic button. I feel like the Manning family knew coming in this is what it was going to be, 2 years, and then it's going to be his football team. But the future's bright. I mean, when you can hand the baton from a guy like Quinn Ewers to Arch Manning, you're in a good spot.
Yeah, they've got another young man named Trey Owens. He's big. I mean, he's bigger than Arch, 6'5", 6'6". Greater Houston Player of the Year. He's a true freshman. You'll learn his name.
Is KJ Lacey still
yes, and then you're the Mobile guy.
KJ, Saraland High School is about 5 minutes from my house. So, yeah, I know all about KJ Lacey.
That's good stuff. He works with David Morris, I believe,
He
also.
does.
Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely.
does.
Good stuff. Jim, anything that you would tell Texas fans as it relates to this season and what you're looking for overall?
I would just enjoy it. Like, if I was a Texas fan, I'd enjoy the move to the SEC. Like, they might trip up, but I think that's what's great about the expanded playoff is, the last few years, if you lose a game or two and you're a fan base that have really high expectations, it's a total letdown. Like, sometimes the bowl game itself wasn't big enough. Like, it was, at least I know in the state of Alabama for the Tide, like, it's CFP or bust. So I think that's the nice thing. They can come over, and if they stumble in a game or two, they're still going to be in the playoff, and then you got a quarterback like Quinn, and that's what NFL teams are going to want to see. If they're drafting a guy in the first round, if you're drafting a first-round quarterback, you're drafting him because you think he's the reason you're going to win Super Bowl someday. If not, then get him in the third round. If you think he's like a guy you need to surround him with great people to have a winning football team. So that's the thing. When Quinn gets in those big games, they're going to want to see him win big games. I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
Before I let you go here, speaking with Jim Nagy, Senior Bowl Executive Director, I got to ask you. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you this. Who do you think is going to be the number one pick? Who's the odds-on favorite right now?
I wouldn't be doing my job if I answered that question.
You gotta play it down the middle.
I gotta play everything down the middle. No, I did TV work at ESPN for 3 years, and I think they got sick of me because I can't burn bridges, man. Like, these guys are all represented by agents, and I'm not going to sit there and badmouth any of these guys or put one guy above another guy. So I'm going to have to. I appreciate the question, but I'm going to have to sit that one out.
I think that's fair. Jim, I appreciate it. Best of luck with the game and everything, and we'll definitely be down there. We didn't make it this year. We'll be down there this coming year to watch a little of the practices and stuff. With so many Longhorns expected to possibly be in attendance.
Well, great. We've got a setup like this. We've got a radio row we've built out over the last 4 or 5 years. And again, we're coming off our best year, 10 first-round picks, 45 of the top 100. So hopefully a bunch of those guys will be Longhorns this year.
All right. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks. Jim Nagy. Appreciate you.
Thank you.